first thing people can easily identify is the examples here. See in Angular having an example like this, or React having an example like this, and that makes the beginners migrate very fast to the platform, or at least start using Svelte. And one of the things about Svelte is that this is very close to HTML, and you just see similar. You would see the similarities of HTML with Svelte. And very neat thing is that this thing compiles into a very tiny JavaScript. Whether I think Lee showed us this, and probably do like this, right? And you would see this works just like that. And the other thing is props. Oh yes. So these are props, just like how anyone would use in React, passing some sort of variables or some sort of something that is dynamic on your web page to another component. Probably this could have a different style or different sort of elements or something. It can compute something and it can put it to the DOM. So this is one of the most used features of Svelte as well. And the other thing is how it is. So I think oftentimes some of them would be allergic to async and wait. This block could be confusing for the beginners, but once they get used to it, it's much easier. But one thing is that Svelte provides something called await blocks. It could help you resolve the promises. It's waiting. Okay, it has failed to generate already. Let's generate again. Okay, here we go. So it awaits for the, it resolves the promise and gives you the right data. So this is one of the very good features available in Svelte for beginners to start with. All right. So my talk is about, I think we have some chat. Okay. My presentation is on Sapper Jamstack. I'm a fan of Jamstack and also a lot of frameworks where I can consume some API and start integrating with my framework. So I'm Shriji. I am the co-founder of Naram. It's a small web development company in Chennai. It's in India, and I believe we do high performance JavaScript apps, and we offer a lot of web services as well. But I think around this quarantine time, I found in love with Svelte, and I started to do a lot of things. A little bit about myself. So I think Anarum was, I just introduced Anarum, and before Anarum, it was GetBricks, and it was an IoT-based company. Later, we pivoted towards web development, and that's how Anarum came to be. And I've handled a lot of workshops across India in IoT and embedded systems. And I even trained some corporates for their faculty developments. And of course, I had nightmares with Angular and WordPress. And I'll put the links over here where I maintain some of the Svelte components or shareable components where I think I'm a fan of this. I can show you this. So it's a neat looking, cartoony looking charts. So I maintain this library, and the other one is Leaflet. It's a mapping library. A lot of people use. Maybe I'm a fan of this because it's open source and I'm not required to pay for the API. and I made a very simple component where people can pass in props to this particular component and just populates here. All right. So I think Marcus gave a very rough idea of what Sapper is, and I think it's the same thing. It's just a Nux or Next.js version of Svelte, and it is by the developers of Svelte itself. And just like how Marcus said, it has a lot of SEO facilities, and it can be used to users can benefit when using Sapper to introduce all the social cards or meta tags for maybe search engine visibility. And yeah, so this is Sapper, and just like how Ilesh introduced Kentico, I also integrated the WordPress version of. So this is just running the vanilla WordPress. I mean, one vanilla WordPress with Sapper. Just one moment. Hopefully this works. Okay. Sorry about that. So this is just the base version of WordPress that comes with 20, I think 2020 theme, I think. But problem with WordPress is that it loads a lot of PHP, core PHP modules to even load this page, and it takes a lot of time. And definitely you would save a lot of time when you would use something like Sapper. So you could see it has made about 1.3 MB of traffic and 38 requests. And we could definitely easily compare this with our Sapper version. Yes, it comes with a prefetch. I'll just show you in the code what prefetch is. So we refresh the page. So the resources is just about 300 KB. And so here we have a post. So all these posts are populated from the WordPress instance. Uh, okay, so the idea was to make something beautiful with Trello. And I got this one morning, I woke up and I thought, okay, let's make something very different. And then it struck me to use Trello. So if people are familiar with GL, then they know what Trello is. Okay, so I'll just show you a very quick demo of what I'm about to do, or at least what I did. Okay. So there is the when you install Sapper, you are greeted with this page, and you can start editing, or you can have fun with it. And something that I'm going to concentrate is posts, and using Trello as a blog backend where you can probably draft your notes or whatever you want to write and then publish using these posts. So if I drag it up here and refresh, it's going to be right here. And it has some description. So I can probably change it to yo, and you could see this is actually fetching from the Trello API. Uh, so I can also drag in other things probably once I've drafted, once I'm about to post. So you should be able to see all the posts here. And I can also rearrange them. Yes, so this works. So this is something that I built. So very first thing, what you see when you open a Sapper project is you wouldn't be seeing posts, but you would be seeing blog and all these things. And at first, it may confuse you, but you don't have to be confused. So very simple thing is that all your posts from a blog or a root in a blog, and posts are going to populate all the posts. So it may look weird that it has an underscore because this is hidden JavaScript or that is not going to be exposed to the client side. So, for example, if I go to which blog, is blog, okay. So these are the default Sapper posts, and if I say posts is not going to exist and it does not expose this particular file that has an underscore. And similar to that is index.svelte is responsible for populating all the posts, and slug.svelte is, I'll come to more on slug later because there are some tricks that you can do. And slug.svelte is something that is responsible for populating what is inside a particular text. So you can go to WhatsApp and you can see this one is coming from posts. So there is what is Sapper and there is a slug called what is Sapper. So that's what you see here. And this is the description that's over here, the HTML. So interesting thing about this, uh, these are my API keys. Probably Ilish could hide this in post editing. So you could see the symbol of and essentially this is your backend. The post.js is essentially going to talk to your backend. Could be anything, and these things would not be exposed. And what I'm just doing is just fetching the card, and I will definitely leave the details of how to obtain your keys and getting your board IDs and all these things in a blog post. And also I'll leave this slide link so you guys can use it. So yeah, so I'm just doing a normal fetch request and I'm just getting the data, and this is how my data is going to look actually. Oh, hold on, I'm just using the link. So this weird way to interact with API with Trello, their documentation is good, but I think it could be more straightforward. So this is probably the ID of my board, and when I send a request, I get the ID of where my card is, and I use that ID to get all the lists. So it's going to say posts and drafts, just like what you see here. And if I'm interested in populating or getting the posts, I can use this. And I can get the list of all the cards. So this is what is there over here. So I think Svelte is awesome, and this description, Svelte is awesome. So I'm also using the day. I mean, it uses the Unix timestamp like this, the timestamp, and I'm converting it to the appropriate date so that it appears neat over here. Can posts, yeah. So it just appears like this, and also so it just has a structure like this: title, slug, and description. So similarly, I'm having title, slug, and description. So these are the things, and extra and time, and these are things that I'm just going to get from this API. And also the tags, what you see here is from something called labels, a field called labels. Yeah. So I get this, and what I do after this. So this is my backend, and this is just ready, and I can start in index.json and slug.json. All right. So these two files exist. Our index.svelte is asking for something called post.json. So this index.svelte is asking post.json from here. So just like how the default Sapper, and I haven't modified much of the default Sapper uh, template or the boilerplate. It's just the same, but with just extra slug and title and artworks. And each also exports a JSON. It's going to be requested like this, params.slug.json. So since we have two JSON endpoints, we could actually see it like this. So here you go. So this is the entire JSON that is coming out of this particular file. So you see all these things. And similar to this, you also have it over here. So the slug.json is going to be listed over here. So this one. So this I can make use of the data that I can use over here. So this is pretty much the idea behind how Sapper could be used to make a very performant website, but you could use Trello as a backend and probably even host it somewhere in a cloud or maybe in Firebase. So you could definitely have something like a neat way to draft your posts and have them posted. So this was the idea behind Trello as a blog backend. And also, I want to show some extra things. So one thing that may be very important for people who use Sapper is the magic of Slug. So let me close this project. Yeah, before I stop this, I'd like to have some questions asked if there is any. So before I show the extras, maybe you guys would be very interested to know how well Svelte could power very small devices. Any questions?
Yeah, one question. It's really cool that you do this with Trello, but what is the use case behind it? So I don't understand why you need to have the Trello board, which is already a UI, visualized in the website again.
Okay, so if I want to have a blog platform or somewhere where I can have it as a backend without using WordPress, so this makes sense only then. But instead, just like how Marcus used, you can actually use your MD specs or MD Markdown format to populate a blog. Obviously, people who could be interested in Jamstack, or Jamstack actually stands for JavaScript APIs and markup. So people who are interested in Jamstack can explore facilities like this.
Okay, I understand. Yeah, makes sense.
Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool to use Trello as a blog backend as well. Yeah, any other questions?
I've got one. So if you use Trello, what sort of like difficulties did you come across in the sense of like, normally on blogs you get like things like scripts and you get images and, you know, maybe potentially you might want to put some assets in there. Is there, do you find any difficulties?
So you could make a very simple blog post, and one of the other things is that this is not going to this Markdown is not going to be supported in this or any sort of even markup as well. So it's not going to accept any sort of HTMLs or anything. So that could be a problem if you are going to use some sort of a complex logic. So maybe you can't embed shortcode, or you can embed some sort of interactive features that you would definitely lack.
Okay, and then I guess a follow-up to that is, you know, you've got other things that you can do with Trello, so you can add members, so they could potentially be things like authors and things like that.
Exactly. Yeah.
And things like attachments.
Multiple authors as well.
Yeah.
Yes, actually, I forgot to mention one major disadvantage. So one thing is I can just drag and drop whenever I want, but the problem is this is going to get updated. So imagine if the original post was posted on 25th and later somebody, maybe in October or December later, they update or they move this around, move this particular card around, and it would just have the current date and you cannot see when it was last updated. So that is one thing that you lose, but you can also see the revisions thing. Yeah, you can see the revisions over here. Yeah, so you can see what is the activity or who has done the activity, but you can't avoid this being updated. So that is one other disadvantage. So it is very important for blogs. And obviously I tried having a cover image, it does work, but also this one uploads a very high quality unsplash image. So that is not going to be working out for high performance app. So you can't handle that on the fly. So that is one disadvantage of Trello being a backend. So any more questions? Okay, so this might be interesting for you, and we all know Svelte outputs vanilla JavaScript that is going to be very tiny. And this is a small device that I'm using, and this is running a small Svelte project hosted in. Yeah, so so this is the small device. It is actually hooked up to my. This is much easier. Okay, so it's just powered on by my PC. It can just be powered with power bank or anything. So external power source. It doesn't. This is not receiving any data from my computer. It is just simply connecting to my Wi-Fi. So this is a Wi-Fi capable chip. So it's just a dad joke generator, or this again is fetching a dad joke from an API. So it's a catastrophe. So this particular bundled app is running within this particular memory, and this has about 4 MB of storage and 80 kilobytes of RAM, and it can't do much, but definitely when it comes to the part where you want to integrate in your smaller devices or embedded systems, your Svelte would really help a lot. So you could make a complex JavaScript application with Svelte, but if you were trying to use Angular or React, your bundle size would be very big, and definitely that is not going to be helpful. So this is one thing, and also you can run your Svelte or a Sapper server on your Raspberry Pi. So this is one more thing. And Also, getting back to the roots, I forgot to show a small demo. So it's just the normal Sapper deployment, and I have made a file called posts. So if I go here, I get nothing. It's just the index page of posts, and you could see there is a spread operator as a folder name itself, and that helps you capture all the roots. So for example, if I say hello world, so this is sorry, it's coming from here, posts. And for example, I can say this is going to be a category, and so you can capture a category, and that may have a slug another word, or that may be a category of maybe entertainment. So you could make your request according to your category. So this is one interesting feature of Slug in Sapper. And the other thing is it can keep going. So entertainment/1. So it's going to have category and entertainment, and Slug is going to be one. Maybe ID of the post could be anything. And the other thing is maybe you are making a application that tracks logistics. So I have something called trucks. So this is the page of trucks that is coming out here, and I want to track just truck number 1. So it can also have a slug or an ID in this case, and I can capture it here. So it can be data params. Preload function is inbuilt in Sapper, and context is equal to this module is something that you can export it within this particular file. So this returns data. You can use this data inside this page. So you can have an ID like this. So, and not only that, you can also capture multiple parts of Slug like this. So, this is multiple. Say hello, and so this page contains data of hello over here and greetings. So it captures something called slug, and it also captures something called category. So this is one of the use of Sapper. So also I would call it a magic of slug. And yeah, so this is about my talk. You could find me on Twitter. It is at Shriji, and we got a very good Discord group. I often hang out there, and I'm active over there. And I'd like to get some connects in LinkedIn and follows and Twitter as well. So this concludes my talk. And yeah, so I'm sorry to conclude this soon, but any other questions?
I'm just expressing myself. So I think Svelte is actually the perfect, or they have the perfect use case of using it on these small devices like you showed, because of limited memory, limited bundle size maybe that they can put on. And I think also Rich Harris said in one of the talks that he held that already some big company with cash machines is using it in production, or basically on their machines, because of just of the power of Svelte. So I think there is this specific use case of maybe also cryptocurrency, things that have to be fast and small and performant. That is good.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it was also one of the. It was Tyserman, I think. He's also one of the core members, or were one of the maintainers of Svelte. I'm not really sure. And they have this ATM POS machines. So that is powered by Svelte.